In this video demo, we're going to look at the technique of basic keyframing in Hitfilm Express. So step one, we got to set up our file. So I'm going to open Hitfilm Express. And we're going to open a new file up top here. Click New. And for our template here, I think the assignment calls for 720p HD at 30 frames a second right here. So we're going to click that preset. Duration here, the video itself has to be somewhere between, I think, 3 and 5 seconds. So I'm going to start out with a 7-second animation, and then I'll crunch down as I need to. So I like to start with a little bit longer for a duration than what I'm going to finish with, and I'll show you why once we get to that. For the video, we're going to use the default 1280 pixels by 720 at 30 frames a second. We're good there. And click OK. And notice here, and I don't know if this is something I'm doing wrong, but whenever I set up a file with a duration, it gives me a different duration here. So it says 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 50 seconds, 0 frames. I don't want a 5-minute video, right? So I'm going to go up here to File, change Project Settings. I don't want 5 minutes for sure, so I'm going to change this to 00. And in my seconds section here, I'm going to change that to 07. So you might have to go and change this number again under Project Settings. Everything else is the same. Click OK. And now you can see on our timeline, 7 seconds is selected. 629 is pretty much 7 seconds. So we're good to go there. And that's so our file is set up. Now the next thing we want to do is bring in our media. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go down to the media bin here, or where I call our clips bin, in the lower left-hand corner. Click Import here. Let me cancel that for a second. You can drag this window out too here. So we're going to import. Click this little arrow next to Import. Image sequence or media is what you want. We're just going to import media for this one. So choose Media, and then just go find your media that you're going to use. In this case, we're using a picture of a tennis court and a tennis ball that I modeled, a PNG of a tennis ball I modeled in GIMP. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put those in here in our clips bin. And then once you have your clips in here, don't do anything with them yet. First thing we want to do is create a composite shot. So we're going to go up to New, just above where your clips are, this little plus sign where it says New. Click there, and we're going to choose Composite Shot. And again, you want to make sure all your details in your composite shot are the same as your video settings that you set up earlier. So we're going to change this from 30 seconds to 7. Remember, we started with a 7-second. 720p HD at 30, that's good, and everything else is the same. But you want to make sure your duration is the same for now. And this is our composite shot. Notice here we have an editor timeline and a composite shot timeline. You want to stay in composite shot for this. And now we can drag our background, our tennis court, into our shot here. And we're also going to drag in our tennis ball, or PNG of our tennis ball. You can also put the tennis ball up above the tennis court layer, and you can see there now there's our ball, and there's our background. And so now I'm ready to pretty much go to work. Now I'm going to rotate this tennis ball when I keyframe it, but if you look at this little white crosshair where the arrows are coming out of, that's your pivot point for your object. If I click this little rotation here, watch how the ball rotates. That's not how a tennis ball rotates. The center of gravity is all wrong, right? So before we do anything, I like to make sure my pivot point is in the right spot, the center of rotation. So here's how you do it. This needs to be moved up to the center, but whenever I grab it and try to, it won't let me, right? So one way you can do it is you can click down on your tennis ball here in the composite shot, click the arrow, go to transform now and click the arrow, and we're looking at anchor point here. So anchor point is what you're going to adjust to get this little white crosshair here up to the very center of the ball. And so you go down over here, and you can click and slide left and right, and notice that the ball moves, not the anchor point, but that's okay. Now we'll move the Y here, the Y axis, and we're going to get that center of rotation in the center of the ball, in other words. So that's where your anchor point needs to be. You can keyframe it if you want by clicking this circle right next to where it says anchor point. And notice here on the timeline it created a keyframe. That's telling the computer this is where the center of rotation is now. So now when I rotate this ball, notice it's going to rotate correctly because the center is in the right spot. Okay? So make sure that if you need to rotate something, that you change that anchor point to the right spot where it needs to be before you do anything else. It'll make your life a lot easier. Okay, so the next step now is to keyframe what you want this thing to do. And for me, I'm going to just keyframe the position of the ball. So before I do anything else, I want to resize this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one of the handles here on the corner, hold down Shift, and drag in toward the center of my screen to make the ball smaller. Notice there that Shift maintains your aspect ratio. It won't skew it, which is nice. That's probably good for the size here. And let's go ahead and have the ball start off screen over here. So you won't see it at first. It'll just come in kind of right there, and we'll just have it bounce in and do something for a few seconds. So let's start with position keyframe. You make sure your scrub key is at 0 on your timeline. Click the position keyframing tool right here by clicking the circle next to position. Notice we have a keyframe started there. Now here's all you do. You move your scrub key and then you move your object. And it's going to automatically create the motion path for you or create the keyframes for you. So there's our first movement. The ball is going to come in from the bottom there. Move this scrub key and then you move your object again. Let's say it bounces about that high on the second one. It's going to lose velocity, right, as it goes along. Okay, maybe about right there. Again, move your scrub key, and we'll move the object back down. About right there. And I'm just guesstimating on these points. Another way you could do that, well, no, let's keep doing it this way. I like the way I'm doing it here. Again, now this time we're going to lose some velocity here. And maybe even some width there. Okay. So I'm moving it. I'm doing it equal distance at every 2 notches here. I'm moving the ball. And okay. I'm just trying to keep it even for now. I'm going to have to adjust those later, of course. But that's okay. So that'll hit about there probably. 2 more here. Let's go down and over a little bit. Again, I'll probably need to make adjustments here, but that's okay. I might be a little too far. Okay. Keep going here. And you can see on our time here, I'm already at 3 seconds. So that's why, again, I was telling you guys I like to set up an animation that's longer than I'm required to do. All right, so we'll bring this back down, over, and maybe do one more. We'll do one more quick jump here. Just a tiny one. That's too much. There we go. Okay. Probably good there. And then for the rest of it, up to about 5 seconds, let's say, we'll have it roll, just roll a little ways. Let's have it go this way. Something like that. That might be too much. So we'll see. Okay, so those are my basic keyframes here. And notice here, watch, I can play this now and play it back. And there you can see the ball is kind of doing what I want it to do. But then it speeds up real fast at the end. So probably to slow it down, I'd move it closer to the other one, so it doesn't have as much time to travel that far. Or further away, we'll see. Maybe it's going to speed up even more now. Yeah, so further away is going to make it slower. Okay, so it'll be a little more than 5 seconds for now. It's getting there. Okay, we want it to lose velocity there. That's pretty good. Let's go to 6 or 7 seconds like we did before. I think we said 7 was the... Yeah, we'll just go right to the end here. Perfect. All right, so let's go back to the end here. And again, we can also... I made a keyframe there. I shouldn't have. We can take these keyframes on the bottom and move them too. So I can move this over here this way if I want to speed things up, or... That looks pretty good right there. Okay, and then again, if I need to speed up any of the other keyframes here in the shot, I can move those around too. For example, as we get toward the end, these should probably speed up. So I'm going to take these now and move them a little closer together. The velocity here should increase a little bit as the bounces get smaller. It's not bad. So maybe starting about there on this one, they start to get closer together. So you can make your adjustments, like this, because the bounces are going to need to be a little bit faster as they get smaller. At least that's what I've, observed when I watch a ball bounce. There we go, and that was looking better. And then it slowly rolls that way. Now here I can go to this last keyframe right here. Select it. Watch this. I can select this. I can move this back over this way if I want to. If I don't want it to travel as far, by just grabbing it and dragging it over this way. Like so. So that way it doesn't travel as far. Now I don't need this keyframe actually. There. Now watch when you watch the end. Doesn't travel quite as far, right? And again, let's say, you know what? It's not quite there. It's still traveling a little too far to be convincing. Now let's try that. So you can move your keyframes right on your canvas too. Looks pretty good. But now I think we need to speed it up a little bit. It's dragging. It's lagging. Perfect. So that's how you do your basic keyframing. Then in the next segment, we'll look at how we're going to manipulate those keyframes to look a little more convincing.